Our editor-at-large, Ahmed al Burai, joins us now live on set. Ahmed, so you heard Salman al-Ansari talking there. Do you think that this move in any way could be further destabilising for the region? We mentioned that Salman al-Ansari mentioned there the fact that Qatar will now have to capitulate, essentially, and cede to the demands of Saudi Arabia. Could that have a destabilising influence?
The inconceivable irony in Salman's speech for some observers is that both Qatar and Saudi Arabia used to support the same rebel groups in Syria. They're both partners, strategic allies in the war in Yemen. The generals of Qatar have been recently rewarded by the King of Saudi Arabia and the emirs of United Arab Emirates for their efforts in the war against terror in Yemen. Now, out of a sudden, Qatar became the supporter, the main funder of terrorism, and Saudi Arabia is trying to curb these links between Qatar and the terrorist organization, which is to some extent inconceivable, ununderstandable, because still they used to be partners, as I told you. Now, what's happening, I believe this step is going to increase the pressure of Saudi Arabia against Qatar. Mohammed bin Salman is a hardliner. He is not going to take any step backward. He's going to go further. That depends on the support he is going to take from the American administration alongside the support of the other GCC countries. They've already gone so far with their boycotting strategy. They have a complete embargo and blockade on Qatar. The only power in the region that is supporting Qatar is Turkey. There have been like a big number of cargoes going from Turkey with food and other stuff to the people there. Otherwise, if this continues, I believe that we are not going to see any stabilized region in the short term, not even in the mid-term.
And of course, Iran have also sent food to Qatar, which I assume exacerbates the situation for the Qataris and further isolates them from their GCC neighbours. Now, how do you see this going forward in the coming weeks? Of course, King Salman, Crown Prince Salman will be in position from now onward. Do you think we could see a distinct change in policy, or will he just toughen the stance that Saudi Arabia already has?
Recently, Mohammed bin Salman, the new Crown Prince, has vowed to take the battle into Iran. And he's the most hardliner in the family of Saud against Iran. He believes that this is going to help the Trump administration getting their strategy right in the region. They're going to help them funding their war on terror from the one hand. On the other hand, they're going to have, the Gulf, mainly the Saudi Arabia family is going to support Trump in his policy against Iran. But the other paradox that cannot be deconstructed is the United Arab Emirates, their allies, they have stronger bonds with Iran, the same as Oman, the other country who has stronger bonds with Iran. They didn't cut any relations with these two countries, and they did sever the relations with Qatar. That's the paradox that they could not explain. The other point is, so far, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Saudi Arabia, he didn't prepare the list of charges they believe that Qatar should be doing in order to alleviate the siege and the escalating measures against the Qatar. So far they don't have exactly the indictment or the list of charges they need Qatar to take itself away from them. And that's why it is not clear what kind of strategy they do have to the region. They've already, the coalition led by Saudi Arabia, they had a big failure in Yemen. They weren't able to push the Houthis from the capital, Sana'a, for more than 2 years. Now it's a completely devastated country. There have been crimes against humanity, according to international humanitarian agencies, speaking about the Saudi killing victims and civilians in Sana'a. So far, the strategy doesn't seem to be having the holistic image of the whole region. That's why I believe we could have more reckless measures in the coming few days.
We wait and see what happens. Ahmed al Burai, thank you as always.